I just had to appreciate when I was thinking about this, Professor Thorson's article and how accurately it describes where we're at. Because this is, we've been fighting this for 40 more years. I mean, many, even more years than that. Fighting the environmental fight, and even our knowledge of climate change extends back 40, 50 years. And pardon my French, shit's bad now. It's true that our planet is in crisis. The idea that climate change is something that's coming we know that it's not true. It's here. And it's changing and shaping our planet. We have plumes of methane rising from the ocean. We have this acidification of the ocean. We have these extreme weather events. We have droughts, unheard of droughts across our planet. And so it strikes me that we're way beyond the point of asking the question about, you know, how do you how do you get a specific bill into the legislature? How do you pass a specific bill? That's not where our movement is at. I think Professor Thorson really accurately asked the question, what is up with human nature such that we are in this place? And I just think it's worth appreciating that we are facing a crisis so grand, and we have been working so hard that that's the kind of question that we're asking. So again, my gratitude to Judy and everyone for putting together this panel. I don't think there's a more sort of appropriate and timely topic. I wanted to offer a vision of human nature and movement building. 350.org, which is an organization that I've worked with and worked for, is principally about movement building. And it's one of the reasons that I identify a lot with that organization is it's doing some of the work to shepherd groups together to build what is more than just a collection of organizations, what's an actual movement. But I wanted to start with human nature, that there's a way of thinking about human nature and who we really are, that we are beings, and that we have a voice of wisdom, and we also have a monkey mind. And I don't know if folks are familiar with that term, monkey mind. It corresponds a little bit to the ego, and it's a Buddhist term that refers to that voice that's constantly generating doubt and worry. And so I thought that would be an interesting way to sort of contrast this sort of slightly other way of thinking about human nature, as that we are beings with this voice of wisdom and a monkey mind. And then asking the question, what does that mean for movement building? What does that mean for who we are and the challenges that are ahead of us? Because then I think the question becomes, if we really are these beings who are inherently full of wisdom, and the only thing getting in the way is this monkey mind, then that means the real question is just how clearly and gracefully and how much will we make the contribution that we're here to make in the work that we do. So I think a different way to frame the whole question is not about sort of fighting our human nature or going against human nature to prevent destruction of the planet, but maybe this reframing. How can we cultivate our voice of wisdom to make our contribution? How can we cultivate our voice of wisdom to make our contribution to this planet, to the people on it? So if that's the case, if it is the case that we are beings and we have a voice of wisdom and a monkey mind, what is there to do? I think what there is to do is empowerment. And I wanted to tell a short story about my story of empowerment. A handful of years back, I was in Washington, D.C. for something called the Capital Climate Action. And I remember so clearly the context in which I came to that action. I had said, yeah, you know, the big green NGOs, they've really got this pretty much covered. This is, you know, I've been sending them my checks. I'm sure everything's going along just fine. But this will be cool. This is going to be a big action. They were billing it as sort of the the moment that our movement would rise up and stand up for climate justice. Climate justice being a frame that had not been historically used as much. And a long story short, we showed up, 4,000 of us, outside of the Capitol Power Plant in Washington, D.C., to surround the plant and for thousands of us to risk arrest, hoping that by risking arrest, we would generate the kind of attention in the heart of, in our sort of nation's capital, to kickstart real climate action. The action ended at 5 p.m., all of us surrounding the coal plant, all frozen. It ended with us receiving a text message on our phone, because we were on a text message loop, thousands of us were. And the text message said, "Victory, we shut this plant down. Everyone go home, party at 7. And you can imagine my surprise. I turned around and I looked at the coal plant and I said, I think it's actually still running. And what had happened was that the police had been so thoroughly informed of what we were going to do that they came out so prepared, there was no way we could twist their arm to even arrest one of us, Bill McKibben or anybody else. And that was the moment, I thought, I gotta get into this. I was frustrated and wandering around after the action, and I found this person who looked official, and I went over and talked to him. His name is Joshua Kahn Russell, and he was actually the architect of really the whole action, thousands of people in many months. And this was immediately following this massive action that he had just coordinated, and I told him my plight. I said, man, like, what happened? Why didn't this? And the guy took, he took 10 minutes with me out in the freezing cold on the sidewalk to explain the strategy and the thinking and the objectives of the project, and why they had met some of their objectives and why they made the choices, that they made. And I cannot think of a more empowering thing that Joshua Kahn Russell could have done in that moment. And I cite that as really the thing that got me into this movement and into organizing, was being empowered to see what had happened and the opportunity for me to make my contribution to the movement. So it comes back to me to, as we think about human nature and as we think about the threat that we're facing, what are the opportunities to empower others around us? What will be your next empowerment story? Because obviously you've been empowered in some way to take leadership and show up here in the first place, to be thinking and asking these questions. So what will be the next empowerment moment for you, your next empowerment story? And what empowerment story might you be able to be a part of for someone else? Because if it's really true that we're all here to make this contribution, that we all have this voice of wisdom within us, then all there is to do is, with every ounce of effort that we have, to empower those around us to take the action that they may be able to see that we can take. And to me, that's how movements work. That's what's different than a collection of organizations. Organizations think about recruitment. They think about direct actions and things like that. Movements think about those things, but movements think most importantly about empowerment and about caring for and growing the body of people that are going to make the change that we need to see. Thank you.